It's a couple of minutes after 11, so I figure we might as well start.
Start. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bella Ezuma, and this is my colleague.
I'm Kevin Qualls.
All right. So we are from Murray State University. That's in Murray, Kentucky. Today we are talking about academic dishonesty among international graduate students. And just so we know that, academic dishonesty is something that, permeates all through. It's not just for international students, but this particular study focuses on international students. So,
Also working on this paper with us is our dean, Jerry Muka. You saw his name on the slide as well. He's not with us today, but he did a lot of the work for this research with us.
Yes, actually it's true. Jerry, contributed immensely towards this study because he's the associate dean, and he's the one that actually handles all academic dishonesty cases. And as we know, how many of us teach here? Just by a raise of hand. Okay, how many of you have actually encountered any kind of academic dishonesty? Cheating, plagiarism, all that? Okay, very good. So it's something that we all can relate to. And we know that it's a principal value that every academic institution strives to uphold. But then, academic dishonesty always has effect, not just on the university or the program, but also the effect permeates through society. Because if we're able to bring out people who have integrity, definitely they will translate that to business and to whatever field that they're going to engage in. It is an ethical issue, but also a cultural and psychological issue as well. And Kevin will actually be talking more on that. But then, according to our title, we also know that accrediting agencies have some requirements, about academic dishonesty. And just to highlight the ones for AACSB, which a lot of business departments or business colleges and institutions are accredited by, they're required to have published policies and procedures. But beyond that, they also, when they come for accrediting visit, you have to provide proof that there are some programs or courses that actually teach ethics and all the moral values. And of course, they also would like you to show systems that you have instituted in dictating and dealing with, defaulters. And that's actually what we're going to be talking about. In fact, this study is an extension of another study that Dr. Todd, who is now our provost, and Dr. Jerry Muka, who is our dean, and myself did last year. So what we did was to review over 350 cases of academic dishonesty in our College of Business. Yeah, and College of Business includes about 6 departments. So then we found that among that 351 cases, about 41 are graduate students. And of that 41, 50% of them, or 51%, are American students, and 49 are international students. But when you look at the proportion, the percentage proportion of international students is very small. So when you compare that to 49 who are engaged in this academic dishonesty, is actually high. So we are, in this study, we are looking at what actually happened to those 41 graduate students from the previous study. What factors actually cause the international students to be susceptible to cheating, and what measures have we implemented in our school to combat this particular problem. And we are going to look at that in detail. So, like I told you, about 41 of them, and the measures we employed was we reviewed those 41 and all the cases, but the 41 cases, and some of them were like first-time offenders, and they were, sanctioned and probably given a 0 in the course or whatever that the particular, board or the committee that takes care of academic dishonesty did. And some of them actually left the university, but most of them transferred to another college. And that will come into play when we talk about the recommendations we have for this particular study. Because when they transfer to another college or school, as you will call it in your different universities, it means that those departments or schools are unaware that they have that particular problem. So our recommendation will provide information that will deal with that particular issue. So that's actually, answering the first question. This is what happened. 28 of those 41 have graduated. And of the remaining 13, a total of 5 transferred to a different graduate program. And graduate program outside of our college, in the parent university. But then, what happened is that we have a problem. And the problem is that the measures that we instituted to combat this didn't actually work. Because we saw from January to September of 2015, and besides that 315 cases were like within 10-year period. But then within just 9 months, we have 5 new cases of cheating. And that 5 new cases of cheating has been reported at the graduate level. And all 5 involve international students. So that is why we are focusing on that. So now I'm gonna give it up to Kevin to talk about, like literature review that we went through in terms of cheating and international students.
This is a freeze frame grab from a Facebook page. A few weeks ago, an international student, asked me to write a letter of recommendation for him. And I was glad to do so. He was a good student. He was very involved on campus. He's vice president of the student organization for Saudi Arabian students at Murray State. They've got a Facebook page. So in preparation to write his letter of recommendation, I was doing some homework. I came across this page, and I thought it really illustrated some of the things that we're talking about. There's an advertisement right here, put on his page. And if you would go to the next slide, I've kind of blown that up so you can read what it says. It says, looking for Pal research proposal help? Why should you waste your time and effort trying to complete everything on your own if you can easily order a research proposal from us and forget all your problems right away? Just click here. There's a predatory environment for students who English isn't their first language. They have another barrier to cross in trying to be successful in our educational system, and there are those who are ready, and this is just one of many that are ready to. And we're all aware of the online, the digital tools that are out there for cheating. Well, it's not necessarily that our students are seeking this out. They are seeking out all of our students collectively. May I see the next slide? In taking a look at the literature review, all roads lead back to McCabe. McCabe is the McGaddy of research in this area of cheating. And in reading him and Texera, who's also in our reference list, a couple things became readily apparent in looking at this. One was a lament that they voiced that international students, they're kind of known to be cheaters. Ow. What a perception that people have. They lamented this feeling among faculty that they surveyed across lots of different universities that came back saying, yeah, they got a problem with cheating. What they discovered was this is not really an issue of their character. Rather, it's an issue of their culture. And so in the literature review, bifurcating this about looking at the different cultural differences and attitudes, you can really parse them out in 2 categories. One of them is collectivism. That we have some countries, some cultures that to achieve a goal means we're all going to work together to achieve this goal. Those would be like Lebanese students, Chinese students. They're used to working in this fashion. Their whole culture is set up on let's work together on a collaborative goal. So here you create an assignment for them. Here's a group project, students, work on this, but you're going to get individual grades. Well, how does that play in the mind of someone whose culture tells them, okay, I understand this, I get it, I've been working together with people collectively for years. I know how to do this. What do you mean I'm guilty of plagiarism? What do you mean I didn't do my own work? And so that we have that. So it may not be an issue that this student has a dishonest heart, that their ambition is to cheat. They merely may be acting out of that. So one of the things that came out of the McCabe study was that this idea of acculturation. The longer an international student remains in our culture, then the more they learn our culture, the more they learn what it means to work collaboratively, yet still grasp the idea of individualism, which is so much part of Western thinking and Western thought. So why does this make a difference? Are we looking to say that one culture is better than another? That's not what the literature is suggesting. What it's suggesting is that the assurance of honesty, the amount of honesty that we can see in the students that we graduate, is very closely tied to, is the Vancouver Index of fraud. That's something the business world uses. That's something that we all look at. Is it safe for me to invest my money into this market, into this economy? Are they honest people? And when we look at international business, I think it's very important that we have this ethic involved and that we're not just teaching business principles, we're teaching this ethic of honesty as we come through. So something that was emphasized by McCabe and Trexa was really what we need to do is let's think about this not just in punitive measures. We're going to punish you for your dishonest act. Rather, let's calculate our policies to be rehabilitative so that maybe you don't, on the first offense, you're not kicked out the door. Let's do a little bit more education. Maybe there's some penalty involved there. Maybe we'll look at that. Let's teach students that they have the responsibility to be honest, because a lot of their research is showing that really it's the job of the teacher to police cheating. So in the literature review, you're looking at countries like Poland and you're looking at Lebanon. It's the teacher's job to make sure everybody stays honest. It's not your job to be honest. Well, we've got to shift that paradigm around a bit. And then also, particularly among studies of Chinese students, the idea of having the one who's the master of a craft and someone who's a student of that craft, that you imitate someone who's mastered it. And that imitation is respectful. We call it plagiarism. They see it as it's disrespectful for me to change the words of this person who's an expert in this field. So again, I think the lessons from the literature that we can take home is this isn't really about character as much as it is culture and changing some of the perceptions that people have going in. Dr. Zimmer.
Okay. Adding to what Kevin also said, what are we doing in Morris State, to reorient these international students? Our international office is actually setting up, a session whereby they can give orientation on plagiarism. And we, individual teachers, we actually do, it is an obligation for us to actually give workshops on this, and it is, in fact, it is mandatory for us to have in a section of our syllabus. All syllabi, you have to include everything about, plagiarism or cheating of every kind. In fact, it is so long that it's almost like a page and a half.
Yes.
And the students are required to read and understand it. Okay. Also, what we found that was really fascinating is the use of ghostwriters. I don't know how many of you, know that. In fact, students, will always go to termpapers.com, but that has actually graduated, as we can see now. What students do now is that they share their username and passwords with these ghostwriters. It's not just write a paper for me and I'm going to submit it. Be that student for me. And we know every school now is incorporating technology in terms of discussion board, using your learning systems and all that. They share this username and password, and the ghostwriters actually log in, participate in the discussion, take the quiz, take the test, and all that. In fact, some, of course, we use Turnitin and Safe Assign, the software to dictate, plagiarized term papers. But now what they do is to actually pay the ghostwriters to write original papers. And we found that they charge them between $25 and $30 a page. So like a 10-page paper will be costing these students like $300. And they said there are 3 categories of students that use these ghostwriters. The rich lazy kids, the international students that are from, English is a second language, and also those that are simply can't just write it, they're just lazy, and the third one actually are people who can, this is actually the main recommendation that we are bringing to this conference, and hopefully to share with you. 2 recommendations. One is a campus-wide effort in combating academic dishonesty problem, because when you come to every university, some departments are more stringent than others. So in this case, we are recommending, and actually Morris State is implementing this, that we are going to use the same measures across the board. And to do that, we are instituting something that is called an Assurance of Honesty database. And our CIS department is actually working on that. In fact, the president of the university, is also, Dr. Davis, very much involved in this measure as well. So what is Assurance of Honesty database? It's a database that is intranet, just within the university, whereby the deans, as well as department chairs and administrative assistants, will have access to. If a student is an offender, you input it there with the M number, which is the ID number. That way, if a student is transferring to your college or to your department, you put in that M number, the ID number, it will come up. So you can see the student's academic honesty, or dishonesty history. That way, we can actually control this. So that is actually the major recommendations, and as we speak, our CIS department is actually working on that, and we are hoping that sometime next year we will actually implement that in our university. Sorry, do you have any questions? We're running out of time. Yes?
So that's just within your university then, this database. So if, let's say that another teacher had a problem with a student, that they could see that there was a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I love that.
The department chair of the others. So if they get in trouble in the College of Business and they decide that they're going now to enroll in the College of Education, the chairman in the College of Education would see, oh, this person has had these problems in the College of Business. They've been flagged as someone who's behaving in this unethical way. So it follows them. But yes, you are correct that it's only within Murray State University. The person could still transfer to another institution. And
Yes.
this, and then this rap sheet, if you will, doesn't necessarily fall beyond Murray State. But
Yes.
but within our university it works.
Each one of those instances probably had to be, I would think, just thinking in the lawyer's mind, like due process. But
Yes.
each one of those instances had to be not just,
These are things that probably there's been an academic appeals hearing.
Okay,
We
that's what I
have
was
mechanisms
thinking.
in place.
Okay.
I serve on both in the college and the university, the
Okay.
judiciary committee that hears these kinds of cases.
Uh-huh.
And so they typically have gone through that process.
Okay.
And in fact, that's where a lot of the documentation that Dr. Luca had, because he chairs that effort.
Okay.
So all of these things came through him,
That's
including the 5 that we've solved.
I love that.
And something I think that is interesting is that with the emphasis that now is on that page and a half Dr. Zuma talked about, this in our syllabus and in faculty meetings, look at this, make sure you have this in your syllabus, explain this to your students. I don't think that the students at Murray State University have become more dishonest in the last few months.
Oh,
I don't
no.
think that's the case.
No.
I think, and rather, that all of us are knowing what to look for. And I think that's a positive result of this. So even though this research doesn't show that we've made the world a better place since the last study, maybe we really have. And that we're more closely monitoring than we used to, and we also have some uniformity as far as knowing every instructor knows, okay, this, here's the policy. We're all on the same page, literally, because that page is in our syllabus.
Okay.
Is
Yes.
this, yeah, go ahead.
There was actually an article about online cheating being a big business, and it was actually a person at a university. He hired a company, so $1,500 to get them a B or more, and he did it like 7 times. So it was actually a university employee signed up for the class under, you know, Joe Smith, name whatever, and he basically had $1,500 to get B or better.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll send you the article. It was
That's
like last
interesting.
week. It was last week.
I'd
yeah.
be interested in
So I
seeing
just
that.
wondered, what is your online? How many? Do you teach online classes in
I do a hybrid, online and offline. Yeah, the same. Yeah, just use online. I don't teach 100% online.
So those 5 were those in a hybrid?
Yeah,
traditional
some are
class?
online and some are. Actually, one was just the forgery of, a faculty member's signature. Yeah, so we have a paper, that we're going to share with you anyway. And also, if you're really interested in this, there's an interesting book. It's called The Culture of Cheating. The Culture of Cheating, and it's really, really interesting. And it deals with, both students here in the United States, and it actually, it's almost like an investigative journalistic work on Ivy League schools. And we didn't mention, you can see from our paper, like a Stanford University case that happened last month. I don't know if you saw that in the news, so it's in our paper as well, and we'll share it. Yeah.
20% cheat rate on one
Yes.
introductory course in a
Yes.
major.
So this database is going to include everybody, not just the international students. That's
It's everybody.
It'll
yeah.
be everybody.
Yeah.
No, we're not
Yeah.
singling out international.
Again, we are not. I don't want anybody to think that we are just, focusing on international students. But the reason we actually, highlighted that was, first of all, a lot of literature,
Yes.
not a lot of literature in that regard, and also we're just curious to find out, if there are any cultural or
Right.
psychological differences, just like Kevin.
I have to admit I'm not familiar with the literature, but I just heard that you said there's a lot of it focusing on international students. Is this what you just said?
Yes.
The two of you being more involved in that, what's your reaction to that? Does it match your own experiences? Because in my case, I teach, and Della knows very well, at an institution with a very small number of international students. And the problem is huge. It's huge among the so-called student athletes.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
huge among kids who are working part-time or sometimes full-time, among those with internships, etc. So what's your own experience with that?
Actually, for athletes, yes, that's true. In fact, Kevin and I, when we were driving to the airport, we were, sharing that. Yes, it's true. I've seen that. But a personal experience that I would like to share that just happened 2 weeks ago was I teach a graduate course that I have 19 students, and of that 19 students, 12 are international students. So the first exam that I gave them a take-home exam, and they wrote beautifully. In fact, a few students, about 4 out of those 12 international students, provided me with papers that seemed like my dissertation, and this is like master's student. I was really impressed, but the red flag went off, so I said the next exam, which was like 3 or 4 weeks later, which I gave 2 weeks ago. So what I did was I told them it's gonna be in class. I'll take you to a computer lab, and then I brought the paper that student, he got a perfect score. I can't prove it. I can't prove he didn't write it. But when you juxtapose the 2 papers, it was like a night and day. So I brought it to the attention of my chair, I brought it to the attention of our dean. So they are going to use that. In fact, the dean, they had a meeting yesterday, so they used that as sample. And it's not just one student, about 4 of them, So you see that even words that I know as a person who just completed a year of English as a second language, may not use as freely as it was used in that paper. So I was really concerned about it. So yes, if you said, if you're asking whether we've experienced it, yes, we have, personally.
Are you going to do anything about that, or are you gonna have to let that go?
Oh, no, it won't go. No, I'm going to do something about that. Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
I think the point of this, that's part of our duty as educators, is this to reform that, and say, look, this happened. Now, how are we going to deal with this?
Yes.
And so we can kick you out of school, we can fail you, we can do those things, but the better course is, let's make sure that you're educated on how to do this. And you may lose the points on this assignment, but let's realign, why did you do this, how did this happen? And the point of this is not to say we're focusing on international students. I think it's the recognition that they face challenges beyond what Native us, American English people, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those who talk English, they face barriers beyond that. And then even beyond that still, like that slide that I show you, there's people who want to sell them and prey upon them. This was a Facebook page for international students. They were targeted. Here's an advertisement. Click here and we'll make your worries go away. Now, okay, is this someone who's offering editorial help? Well, that might actually be okay. Is this someone offering mentoring help? That might be okay. Or is this someone saying, I'm going to write your paper for you?
Right.
And how do you parse that out? And I think part of what we need to do is say, look, you stay away from these people, and if you want to have that help, we've got resources on campus. If you need help writing your paper,
Right.
we have a writing
Have a
center.
writing center.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
have a place where you can come and people will sit down with you and help you with your project. Don't go to these. And that's the point.
Very good.
Okay.
It's an interesting discussion. Thank
Love
you
it.
very much.
Thank all of you.
If we have some time at the end, maybe we can come back and you can ask more questions or make more comments as you wish. Thank you again, Kevin and Bella and Kevin.
Thank you. That was great.
Who is next on the list? I think Buff is not here, and we go to Monica.